If you just look at the world in 2025 and the way everybody consumes media and lives and does all this stuff, and then you look at insurance, it's like, dude, Grand Canyon size gap. And we're just like, is it crazy to think that we could just take 2025 and overlay it into insurance, and that we just stopped thinking about it through a lens of, oh, this is how the industry has always done it, and let's just do that. Let's just literally do that.
Luke Aslesen, welcome to the Accelerate Your Insurance Sales podcast,
Thank
my friend.
you.
I'm excited for this one. It's been a long time coming. It's the first time we've met.
It is.
In person.
Yeah.
So I am sure there are people who listen to my podcast that still don't know much about you or what you guys are doing here, which I think is going to be really cool. You guys are doing something that speaks near and dear to my heart, which is communication, right?
Yeah.
I think we fall very short in the health insurance space, communicating employees on how to understand their benefits. But let's start here, man. For the people who have no clue who Luke is, give us a little bit about your background.
Like most people, if you would have asked me a decade ago, like, hey, are you going to be an insurance guy? I'd be like, hell no.
Wasn't your childhood dream?
It was not. I literally recorded
And you even had a father who was
Yes, exactly. But the more I started thinking about it, I was like, it kind of checks all my boxes. So got into it, call it a decade ago. On the broker side, started there. And as like, I always make the joke, I look like I just got paroled, like shaved head, bald. People think I'm coming to shake them down. Yeah. They're like, what's going on? But, built my book of business. It was all going good. Did it the way everyone does it. And then was a finalist on an RFP for a large national CPA firm. And they asked the question, hey, do you have any content that we can just send to our employees that are in 40 different states? Because we don't have like an HQ. And I was like, oh, of course. Like, surely this exists. Surely this exists, right? And the more I dug, I was like, oh my God, no one's done this. So that led to me recording some just shitty little videos on a webcam, sending them, ended up losing the deal, but that is where the whole thing was born. And that pivoted me from, be a producer, do it that way, to extreme lack of creativity in the space.
100%.
Not even knocking the space, because they have to do what they do, but you get it. Like, we're in some pretty rare airspace. Being able to understand the business, being able to communicate the business, and know how to build brands and engage people. So that just led me down the informed path, which was, let's build some sort of educational engagement tool to get the end user, the employee, to understand how this stuff works, but also give brokers and producers a tool, a shiny new object that actually works for them to go serve their existing clients and go build and like win more prospects.
I always think about why I have the business I have now. When I was working for agencies throughout my career, I was always the guy that was like, hey, we should do this marketing idea.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like, all right, cool, Andy, go do it. And I would end up becoming the producer, quasi-marketing director.
Correct.
And they would always ask me to create what I wanted to create. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why I have Complete Game Consulting now with the brand awareness, building brands, because I'm like, I was the guy who was always asked, okay, go do this.
Yeah.
Because the words creativity and insurance do not go hand in hand.
No, they don't. Never have. Yeah, I know.
And so I think it's really cool what you guys are doing. So kind of fill people in, because you still have a book. With Christensen Group here in Minneapolis, but you also have a co-founder in Informed with Steve, right behind the camera here.
The man.
Walk people through kind of what you're doing with both. I think it's really unique.
Yeah, it is totally. And so I think we all know that you spend all the time building your book of business, and it takes a long time. And as we started building Informed alongside being a producer, I was like, these are not mutually exclusive at all. And in fact, the more I build a tool like Informed to serve existing populations or whatever, that's kind of naturally going to like serve the book of business that I have. So, normally it'd be like, well, you can't really do both, but I'm like, why not? Because at the end of the day, Informed is creativity and it's brand building and it's building something, giving a tool, a actually useful tool to everybody that needs it. But what was pivotal for us is, honestly, if we just wanted to use this to build Luke and Steve's book, call it, and just make $1 gazillion, we could do that. It's not a replicable thing. There's no multiplication there. And as you know, there's so few people with the creative gene in the space that we're like, hey, this is not fun if it's siloed to us. If we're just doing it to make money and build a book, okay, cool, a lot of money, great. Let's give producers and brokers a tool to go out and do this. Because again, we have a very, very unique skill set that most people don't. In the same way that most people have other skills that we're not equipped with.
Yeah.
But this one in particular, we're like, let's give them some sort of tool that they can leverage and not be like, screw Luke and Steve. Like, have them be like, oh, that's my guy. That's my homie. I love those guys. Like, they're helping me out. So how do we endear ourselves to the industry with a tool that serves them, but also helps me keep a book of business, you know?
Yeah, well, talk a little bit, I don't dive right into it this quickly, but I think it's worth it, with what you guys are doing at Informed right now. I love how you explain it. So for the folks who are going to Informed, what the heck is Informed?
Yeah.
You described it as the Netflix of benefits, which I thought, boom, makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what you're doing as far as education goes, benefits education, because you guys have taken it. We're not talking about brochures, people. We're not talking about bringing in the bilingual educator to help with the workforce. No, you guys have literally built out a video structure to benefits communication that, quite frankly, I haven't seen in the industry.
Yeah. It didn't exist. And frankly, this is like progressive revelation for us to a certain extent. But we were like, anything worth having or anything that sticks is really simple. And even the Netflix of insurance, the Netflix of benefits, we're like, oh, that's easy to connect with. But we just were like, let's work with a tech team. And this is all like, bro, how many days, months, years did we struggle with this thing? Iteration after iteration.
Yeah.
But what was crazy to us was if you just look at the world in 2025 and the way everybody consumes media and lives and does all this stuff, and then you look at insurance, it's like, dude, Grand Canyon sized gap. And we're just like, is it crazy to think that we could just take 2025 and overlay it into insurance? And that we just stopped thinking about it through a lens of, oh, this is how the industry has always done it. And just, if some 19-year-old at Harvard or whatever was like, how do I make this thing better or more efficient? Let's just do that. Let's just literally do that. So building off of what already exists, YouTube, Netflix, we were like, let's create all the content. And Steve says it all the time. What do you say? You can create content however you want, but the way it's organized, delivered, and consumed is everything, So how do we give them a platform that's easy to use, easy to organize, easy to distribute? Even from the platform, dude, it's like you can text an email directly from it. You can use the embed codes to put them into your benefits guide or put them into your newsletter. We're just like, let's create educational, engaging content that people can go use very simply, very easily. So that's the heart of it, man. It really is.
Yeah, it's a component of benefits. Having sold it for a couple decades, I've always said, your benefits, your being an employer, your benefits are only as good as your employees' perception of them.
Yes, dude.
You may think you have the greatest benefit plan in the world, but if they don't get it, your benefits suck.
Correct.
And, when you guys look at, it's been funny. We were talking offline about this. What you guys have built would just be like, wouldn't every employer want this?
Right.
But you've already learned, like, it's not as easy as you think. Where do you see some of the challenges right now? Like, when it makes sense, why wouldn't you want to offer this kind of education to your employees? Where do you guys still see your hurdles of trying to get this out to the market?
How honest do we want to be?
This could probably go for the next 3 hours. Yeah,
it probably could.
We are an unfiltered podcast here.
Yeah, good, dude. Then I'll go unfiltered. There's not enough pain.
Yeah.
There's just not enough pain.
Yeah.
Because like we said over coffee, it's like we're still waiting on somebody to tell us that this is a bad idea. And like literally everybody in the industry, out of the industry, it's like, this is awesome. And then you start calling on the decision makers. Well, as you know better than anybody, brokers are the linchpin, right? And the hang up is we're not competing against other education brands, which virtually none exist. We're competing for airtime with the brokers to actually pitch this to a group. And when you're getting bombarded with cold calls all day about RX tourism and education. Everyone thinks they've got the solution, right? Everyone's going to solve the healthcare problem. So I think just busting through the noise, which segues into the why do we have such a social media presence? Because it's like, all right, we just got to bust in somehow. And we can either make a zillion calls to a bunch of busy brokers, or we can just keep on laying it on thick, telling people exactly what we do. So it's probably like anything else, man, just permeating the market and getting in people's ears to a point where they actually are like, oh, okay, cool. I don't think there's anything wrong with how we're doing it. It's just like, we're a 2-man startup.
Yeah.
Like, we're just out there pushing this thing heavy and trying to think strategically, how do we get in front of the most people as fast as possible and continually? So yeah, I'd say that. Just
and we were talking about that. I even see it with our business where, again, creativity and insurance typically are not found in the same sentence. Where we even see sometimes what we're doing with helping people build brand awareness, it's like we're still so far out ahead of how the industry thinks.
Yes. Yeah.
That it can be its own challenge.
Totally. Yeah.
With what you guys are doing, I always think there is something to be said about what I call the bubble up effect. Like, you get enough attention of an employer who says to their broker, we want this.
Yes, dude. Yes.
Now it puts the broker in that position. They have to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because you and I talked about this, trying to sell a program through the broker community can be its own challenge. And and again, we're unfiltered.
Yeah.
We operate in an industry full of egos.
Oh, yeah.
And I think one reason brokers don't offer specific solutions to their clients that would be very beneficial to them, they don't know enough about it. So if they're not the expert, they will not talk about it, and it's not their idea.
Yeah, great point. Wow, interesting. Yeah. And I suppose there are so many things competing for attention.
Yeah.
But the insurance landscape is so bizarre, especially in benefits, because we talk about it too. Like, is it better to go after employers? Is it better to go after brokers? Better to go after both? Well, who do you choose? But at the end of the day, like, the brokers are the decision makers for so many of these groups. But how do we almost serve like 2 different groups, and we go back and forth on this. Like, we have LinkedIn where our buyer is.
Yep.
But we're also trying to win the hearts of our audience and end user, which is the employees. So we've got TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
But these are 2 very different, like, what works here in the messaging for LinkedIn is very different than what it is for the end user. I don't know, man. It's just we're trying to figure this shit out the way everybody else is, and it's just getting in front of people. Yeah. But as you can speak to, doing something different, like, the people that see it and want to engage with it, like, they're out there and they 20%, 30%, whatever, all producers, all brokers, they want to grow. Yeah. They maybe not all of them, but that's why you're doing it, to go make more money, build a bigger book, serve your clients, blah, blah, blah. So the more we can just stay in front and give them something fresh, like, at the end of the day, like, we're all on Instagram and TikTok scrolling and just kind of brain rotting, right? Give people stuff to watch on insurance. I mean, I saw the statistic, 1% of LinkedIn's user base creates content versus the 30% of Facebook users that create content.
Yeah, there's still a massive opportunity on LinkedIn.
Dude, like, I'm sure when someone connects with you on LinkedIn, their feed for the next 2 weeks is just Andy Neary, Andy Neary, Andy Neary. Yep. And that's a good question for you. Like, you probably build this stuff out for your producers and for your clients. And do you see them just once they actually start producing content, like, it doesn't blow them up overnight, but it just gets you into that zeitgeist almost.
But what's changed with content over the last probably 18 months? So back in the day, all content was based on what's called a social graph, right? So you make posts, and who would see it was typically your following. So you have a big following. Quite frankly, you could create crap content and everybody would see it, and it would get great engagement because you have a big following.
Sure.
Well, then TikTok came along, and they were the first platform to use the interest graph, which was, hey, Luke could go on TikTok with 100 followers and create a video that gets 1 million views. How's that possible?
Yeah.
He only has 100 followers.
Right.
It's because the algorithm said, we think a lot of people would find this interesting.
Yeah.
And that's how all platforms are now. So the way I kind of analogize LinkedIn content nowadays, back in the day, I can make a post, goes up.
Yep.
The second I make my next post, it's as if the new post suppresses the last one.
Interesting. Okay.
But nowadays, because of the interest graph, I make a post, the way I describe it is like it's a smoke signal.
Yeah.
And that smoke now turns into a cloud, and that cloud hangs up in the sky for 2 weeks.
Sure.
That's your post now.
Huh. It's a great
So
analogy.
I can throw as many smoke signals as I want now up there.
Yeah.
And they're all going to hang up there.
Yeah.
If you look at your post now on LinkedIn, you'll get this update like John Smith just commented on your post from 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's because content's hanging out there longer now.
Sure. Interesting. Okay.
That's why content's even more important, and you don't have to have a big following.
Well, and they just released the video feature of LinkedIn where you can actually doom scroll on there and just whatever. But I'm a huge believer too that there's such a shortage of content to even recycle
Good
on LinkedIn.
content.
Like such a shortage that if I'm scrolling, I'll see one of this like same people I follow 6 different times because I swear LinkedIn is just like, we literally do not have a database of stuff. So we're going to churn stuff from 3, 4, 5 weeks ago.
Well, and not only that, let's be honest, if we bring content back to the benefits industry, we are literally observing one big echo chamber.
Dude, yeah. Yep.
Everybody's barking up the same echo chamber. Healthcare, blah, 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 big carriers, blah.
Yep.
My question is, are your prospects actually listening to that? They're posting for their peers, not their prospects.
Yeah. How do you get somebody out of that? Because
it's tough.
I mean, it's got to be.
Well, so when we teach people content, I tell you, you got to have a mix of personal and business because it's about likability and credibility.
Mm-hmm.
You got to build both today to win business.
Yeah.
What happens though is they'll make that one personal post and they'll get all the love.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And they get the dopamine hit, 72 likes and 41 comments.
Right.
So they'll do it again and again and again. And I'm like, cool, you're now popular.
Yeah.
It's not doing shit for your business.
Dude. God, this is such a breath of fresh air, Andy. It's so true.
So if you want that award at the next conference,
congratulations.
but what is it doing to grow your revenue?
Yeah.
Please tell me.
Totally. I mean, this is one of our frustrations with the whole thing is like, I post a video with my wife and it's like, oh, amazing. And then I post some shit that's actually valuable and it's like, okay. And, you know a guy named Micah Salas?
Yeah, I have great respect for what he's doing with his content. He does it right.
Yeah, shout out Micah. He works at Christensen Group. And that's one of the things I learned very early on. He's kind of big brother to me when it comes to this. He
gets content.
He gets it, totally. And he's like, what's shocking...
By the way, we grew up, never knew each other because I'm somewhat older than him. We grew up at rival high schools.
Did you really?
Little known fact with Micah.
Small world. Huh. One of the things that he told me earlier is he's like, dude, you will be like, you're almost building content for your peers. Like you're not building it for them, but you'll be shocked. Here's an analogy. Guys want to lift to get the attention of women, right? We all get jacked and we have dudes coming up and be like, you look jacked, bro. That's awesome. It's like, I didn't get the attention I wanted at all from this.
We start getting the bromances. Yes.
We do. What how many reps do you do, bro? It's kind of that way with LinkedIn. Like you're just kind of, as much as you put out there, you're going to attract people that are, anyway, I'm just speaking to
that point though, I coach a guy down in Louisiana, Justin Burgess, who's doing a great job with his content.
Yeah.
And we just had a conversation the other day in his coaching session. I said, you know, man, because he posts a lot of he does a lot of CrossFit.
Yeah.
And he's lost like 70 pounds in the last couple of years. And a lot of people would be like, why does he keep posting? I'm like, well, tell me what your buyer looks like. Tell me what your ideal prospect looks like. Is he a guy? Yep, most likely. How old is he? He's probably 35 to 45 decision maker. Okay. Is he into CrossFit and fitness? Yeah. I said, so keep posting it because guess who it's going to attract?
Yeah.
That's the thing people understand in this business is if you got clear, I'll share this because, and Chris Hamilton's going to get a big head if he's listening to this because we had our own epiphany a couple weeks ago because when Chris won the Broker of the Year.
Yeah.
I sat down and I'm like, what makes this guy our ideal? Because I look at our best clients. They all have character traits like a Chris, Casey Strunks, Colton Justins of the world, the people we get to work with. And I realized, I'm like, holy cow, I didn't think about this, but I've built every product for a guy like Chris, just at various stages of his career.
Interesting. Okay.
So when Chris is on his way to the $1 million book, I got a program for this. When Chris hits $1 million and he lacks time and he needs brand awareness, I got a program for that. When Chris wants me to work with his team, we got a workshop for that. I was like, holy cow, everything we built was for him or guys and women like him.
Yeah.
That's, if more producers could understand that, who are you building your benefit programs for. Literally not the company, the person.
Yeah, the actual
that you're trying to work with.
Yeah.
Everything would change.
Interesting.
And then go post content for that person.
Is it hard? Do you find, because you're right, the warm fuzzies of posting family, whatever the hell, is it hard to, once someone tastes that success, to get them to be like, hey, don't keep posting all of that stuff?
It's hard, yeah, because they get caught in the dopamine trap.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm guilty of it.
But it is, I tell people, it's like baking a cake, right? If you want to bake a cake, the foundation is what? Eggs, flour. That's business content. Mm-hmm. Personal content is the sprinkles, the frosting, the things that make it taste good, but you can still have a cake without it.
Yeah.
Once in a while, I'll post the personal stuff because we do trust people we feel like we know.
For sure.
But you can't just live on that.
Yeah.
Can't just live on that because that's going to help build likability, but you're not building the credibility from the businesses that can hire you.
Yeah. I mean, to be totally frank, this is something that we kind of ran into, call it 6 months ago. I mean, everything like, it's all a journey, the social media journey. I hate using that word, but it is. But we're like, if you're just posting stuff about you're the cool guys, you're whatever, it's like people will like you. They want to hang out with you at the party, but is that translating to business?
Here's a great example. If I see one more post of a producer at a conference with their peers to post it because their ultimate objective is to create FOMO, I will puke because that does nothing.
No.
For anybody.
No. And it's very
And if you're listening and you're one of them, I'm sorry. That's the truth. It's just, it doesn't do anything for anybody. What's the point? Except for you to say, look at me, I'm at this conference.
Yeah. Do you think that it's just, that's easy? I mean, it's very, very easy to post that.
It keeps you in the cool kids crowd.
Keeps you in the cool kids crowd. Yeah. What do you say to a producer or anybody that comes in that is, if they were doing that exact thing?
By the way, I think the interview just flipped here.
It did.
Nice work. That's a ninja move, man.
Thank you. But I am genuinely curious. Like, how do you do that with somebody? Like, how do you get someone out of that? Dopamine and just like
if I'm coaching them, it is accountability. It's hey, yo,
cool.
Let's get back focused. You're talk to you. I'll share with you the content game changer from a strategic standpoint happened. Chris Hamilton, again, I keep bringing it back to him, shared this with me.
Shout out Chris, dude.
But it was him who did this, and I thought this was genius. So he was in an RFP a couple years ago. He ended up winning it. Huge RFP. But he was up against like 7 other brokers.
Cool.
And if I have the story right, after the finalist presentation, there was a 2-month blackout period where they weren't going to make a decision for 2 months, nor could you couldn't reach out to the prospect.
Weird.
And he's like, I'm done. They're not going to remember what I said. So he went on LinkedIn every day and he posted content for that prospect for 2 months.
Beauty.
And he won.
Beauty. Okay.
That's right there.
Yeah.
He went on every day and posted content for that. So my question to my clients is, who are your top 3 to 5 prospects right now? Mm-hmm. Whether they're in your pipeline or you're trying to open the door, cool.
Yeah.
What do you need to teach them to give them the confidence to hire you? That's your content.
Yeah. Creativity, we touched on this at coffee, but creativity in the space seems to be so lacking. Do you think it's just because the whole industry on a whole attracts the left brain, logic, math, numbers, whatever?
Yeah. Yes. People think people still make decisions on logic in this industry because it's a numbers. Yeah. Throw a bunch of quotes on a piece of paper, look at them. No. It's still emotion, man. It's still people move because of emotion.
Yeah. Why? Okay, here's another question. Why?
This podcast is now brought to you by.
That's right, Informed, our inaugural podcast. Why does creativity not exist more? If we're talking about how dry it is and the fact that people want to feel belonging and they want to engage with people they know, like, and trust, like, why are Andy, Luke, and a few others the
slamming their head against the wall?
Yes, dude.
Lack of patience. That's my opinion. We're in an industry that has not been taught how to be patient.
Okay.
So, Luke, if I'm going to hire you to do marketing, will it book an appointment for me next week?
Heard. No.
That's it.
Not at all.
That's the answer right there. That's the problem is we want immediate ROI in this industry.
Yes. Yeah.
It's why we pay a lot of money to hire a cold calling service to book appointments for us.
Yeah. True. But you'd think, too, that, like, with the clear evidence of a Chris Hamilton, of a whoever wants, like, it works.
Oh, you brought up part 2 now.
Okay.
I mean, I got to do work, man. Think about
lazy.
this. Chris is crushing it. Clients I coach, I won't name them all, are crushing it. Guess how many of their teammates are doing it? None.
Interesting.
Luke, it requires me to bust my ass.
True. It's true. True. And throw in the fact that, I mean, we've been putting out 3 pieces of content for a year and a half, and it's like, it sucks, dude. This shit sucks. Like, late at night in bed trying to go to sleep and I'm writing copy.
How bad do you want it, though, right? It comes back to how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
And it comes back to our conversation before this podcast.
Yeah.
Is there enough pain?
Yeah. Yep.
For a broker to actually make a change?
Yeah.
We are a very overpaid industry. Sorry, I was overpaid as a benefit advisor.
Yeah, totally.
If I'm not selling anything yet I'm still making 100, 120K, is there enough pain?
Yeah, yeah. And just kind of floating at that $100, $50 like, you can live pretty cool.
100%, depending on where you live, absolutely.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by True Captive Insurance. What if you could take full control of your healthcare strategy without the financial burdens of traditional insurance? At True Captive Insurance, they make that possible. As the only captive in the nation that puts up the majority of collateral on your behalf, they provide financial flexibility from day one, making them an advocating partner for their customer success. True Captive's fully customizable plans and cost-saving strategies ensure you never have to choose between affordability and quality care. It's time to break free from the limitations of conventional insurance. Take the next step today. Visit truecaptive.com and discover a smarter way to manage healthcare. That is truecaptive.com. I'm going to flip it back because now we're going to bring it back to the creativity. So what I love about what you guys are doing, and this is what I want people to hear, is we were talking about this. There's been a big push in our industry for a few years about all these healthcare strategists, outside the box ideas, all these new strategies to lower healthcare costs, which will ultimately lower health insurance costs. And we all agree that's good.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it comes back to service.
Totally.
More business is won or lost because of good service or bad service.
Yep.
And I talk about this a lot. I wish we would talk more about how many advisors out there. We don't talk enough about this. Win a piece of business because of a cost containment idea. Mm-hmm. It works. It actually does its job, and they get fired the next year. Huh. Why? Service was terrible.
Yeah. Yes.
So talk to me a little bit. We talked about Informed being the Netflix of benefits. Literally, let's get into the details. Like if I were an employer that has Inform's video, vault in my organization, what does that look like?
Yeah. Well, first off, we designed it through the lens of HR. The beauty of also having an active book is I get to have these conversations with clients. Like I'm talking to people all the time, and the number one thing at the end of the day, benefits does not fall on the CFO. It falls on the benefits, the HR team, like whoever. As much as the CFO, CEO might be the decision maker, they are not in the weeds doing gutting this shit out. It's a typically overworked, underpaid benefits HR team that, oh, by the way, has 80 other things that they have to do. So I forget who it was. I think it was the CHRO of like Upwork or WeWork or something. But in regards to benefits education, direct quote, she was like, every single HR leader on the planet knows that they should be doing it. They just don't do it because they don't have the time to do it. It's just this latent pain point. The way we all have it. Oh, I should go get that squeaky wheel figured out. Whatever. So anyway, but the way it actually deploys, the reason I bring all that up is we did make it as easy for the admins as possible. So no sign in at all. I mean, there is, but it's type your email in. It's going to shoot you a link to your email, click it, boom, you're in, right? Yeah. But then from there, we're like, okay, we know HR teams are getting these questions from their employees. How do we, and so many of them just literally have a file in their email where they're like, oh, I got the how do I enroll question, copy paste, boop, 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 which I suppose works, but we're like, the same repetitive questions all the time. How do we give them a solution to just copy paste, boom, have a communicator, give them the straight answer in 90 seconds? So that's the first piece of it. The second is building out a communication campaign, because we are not interested in telling these clients the nuances of their plan to their employees. We're not trying to there's a zillion vendors that'll tell you, you've hit 500 of your $5,000 deductible. This is a network. This is not a network. We're not concerned about that. What we're concerned about is getting people to know what a network is. I had real story a couple of years ago. I had this dude at an open enrollment meeting. He was pissed that the ER copay went from $50 to $500. I mean, this dude's like reaming me out post whatever. And I started talking to him, whatever. Long story short, he didn't know that the urgent care existed. He didn't know it existed.
ER was his urgent care.
ER was his urgent care. And I was like, hey, my guy, you can go to urgent care for free. And I was like, hey, by the way, why'd you go to the ER 3 times last year? He goes, well, my chest hurt a little bit. I had a headache. And then, I was like,
all reasons to go to the urgent care.
All reasons to go to the urgent care. So that happens all the time. So we're like, how do we build baseline benefits literacy across the nation? I know it sounds wild, but no one else is doing it. And there's obviously an educational gap here. So how do we, throughout the year, deploy specific content to employee populations, which, by the way, when HR or leadership sends something, people are less inclined to watch it. When the cool guys are sending you a text or a video or something, I'm not saying everybody loves it, but they're like, oh, cool. Yeah, it's the homie, like putting something out. Great. I'll watch that, especially because it's 90 seconds. So there's the HR solution for it. They're sending the content out, but then also we'll do benefits boot camp quarterly for new hires. We'll do lunch and learns. Like, we almost want people to think creatively about how, if they had a magic wand to communicate how their benefits work and what's good, like, tell us that. I mean, we'll do anything. We'll serve anybody anyway. I mean, I did a webinar for a healthcare company in Texas that does prescription drugs, and I was teaching them how to be wise shoppers of prescriptions. I was like, okay, cool. But at the end of the day, like, getting the internal people at a company the resources that they need to educate their people so that when open enrollment comes around, they're actually asking good questions, or they understand, oh, there's a CVS on one corner and a Walgreens on the other. I love CVS's branding. I hate Walgreens. Well, hey, dude, this is not like gas where it's $3.19 here and $3.19 there. They don't understand that. People don't get that. And we're really big on high level. How do you get people? One of the things that I say when I host an open enrollment meeting or any sort of talk, I'm like, if you expect me to defend healthcare in this country and tell you how bad you need it and that it's, the great white knight, it's not. It's corrupt at best, fraudulent at worst. But do you guys know what the number one most lobbied industry in this country is? Pharmaceuticals, healthcare, and insurance, okay? This cash cow, as much as we all want to say, national healthcare tomorrow, it's coming. Probably not. So we can either get pissed off while getting hosed by the system, or we can be real and say, there's a lot of motivation to keep this thing the same. We need to be wise about how we engage with it. So at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. Get and create wise consumers of healthcare.
Well, I think the key there, too, is your education is very much 101.
Totally.
And that's the piece I think a lot of advisors in our industry miss. Knowledge is your own enemy, because if you are doing a lot of these outside the box ideas, these newer innovative things, your knowledge of them can also be your biggest enemy, because if you go into a group, one of the biggest mistakes advisors are making is they're confusing them.
Interesting.
They're not creating communication that is easy to understand.
Sure. Yes. Say it again.
And no matter how much you know, Mr. or Mrs. Advisor, you have to remember, even the HR director, the CFO, I say this all the time, what I love about benefits is the CFO could have gone to the foremost business school in America, Wharton at Penn.
Yeah.
They do not know more about benefits than their employees.
Correct.
And if you come in and think your knowledge is going to have to impress them, you're going to talk so far over their head, they have no clue to do what to do with what you just said, and you're not winning. You have to make it easy to understand. And that's what you guys are doing with Informed, is you're making the complex easy to understand.
Yeah. Well, even that, it's funny you bring that up, because we work with brokers and producers across the country. Like, our whole business model is give away microsites, give away marketing. Like,
talk about that. Like, how can you be
we got super tired of paying for something, and kind of the whole industry does this. It's like, sign the BOR and then I'll go to market. You know, I get it. Like it's not a bad play, but all of these vendors are like, pay us first.
Yep.
We'll deploy and we'll see how it goes.
Yep.
We are like, hey, let's create assets. Let's give more than we take and create microsites, create flyers, create fun marketing, like literally give people a brand that they can attach to and say, we are an exclusive partner of Informed, solving the educational problem around employee benefits. To your point, keep it simple. We don't need to get into yada, yada, yada. It's like, you know, you have a problem with education. We have a solution. Oh, and by the way, it's a really cool brand that these guys are building out and it's fun. So we saddle up alongside brokers and producers and just say, hey, we know this is not going to be something that all of your clients use, but it should be an arrow in the quiver. It should absolutely be a tool in the bag. So use it when you see fit. Go out and win business with it, because you win business by relationship, by shiny objects, or some sort of nepotism, you know? And the shiny, like everyone's talking about this. AssureX, they put out like post 2024 report of the number, like the top 10 things that people, the employer groups want to see changed about their benefits. And by a 30-point margin, no shit, the number one thing they said was educate our employees on how their benefits work.
Mm-hmm. There's not an employer in America that would say, yeah, we don't actually care if our employees understand their benefits. No. Everybody does.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it goes back to your point. HR is overworked. They don't have the time.
Yeah.
And then they rely on their advisor.
Yeah.
And if their advisor doesn't have the communication skills, let's just be honest, they're not creating an engagement strategy with the workforce that actually works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And worse yet, the advisors view customer service, which I call education. That's a form of good customer service.
Yep.
They view it as table stakes. So they don't want to spend the time when they could be leveraging a solution like you. I always say, let the experts be the experts.
Yeah.
And if you are an agency that wants to bring a high level of education to your employees, your clients, don't let Rick in your office go to Adobe Photoshop and create some brochure. Let people who do this for a living create some cool stuff for you.
Yes, totally. I said this at coffee. Something that's shocking to me, and I say to most of the groups that I go talk to, is, hey, Andy, CFO, CEO, HR, whatever, I'm not saying this to be rude, but you're my number 2 priority. My number 1 priority are your employees, who, by the way, make your business churn. And, you buy employee benefits so that the employees benefit. So love you, dog, but I'm going to focus on these people who you're, by the way, spending 7 figures on. Let me focus on them as my number 1 priority. The more I do that, the better the benefits are going to run, the better your culture is going to go. Oh, shocker, the less money you're all going to spend. And the more I do this, we're going to become tight, because I want to serve your people, bro.
Well, and you guys are essentially creating content.
Yeah.
And when you build a content strategy around benefit education, what are you doing? You're making your place cool to work at. And inherently, what does that become? A recruiting weapon.
Totally. Yep.
We see it on our end. We do content for agencies. And inherently, every single time we do content for an agency, one of the unintended positive consequences is they'll say, hey, love the content. What we didn't expect is we actually have people who want to work for us now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's the same thing with what you guys are doing, is that when you go above and beyond and creating by the way, if you're listening in and you disagree with what Luke and I are saying, if there is one place, I'll share this. When I got in the business in 2002, Luke, I was given 2 pieces of advice. Number 1, dye my hair gray so I looked older. Great advice. Number 2, I was told to go get a membership at a country club I couldn't afford, and I was told to go eat at the most expensive places in town because that's where people hang out. The business decision makers hang out.
Sure.
Today, guess where that is? When you're 21 or 71, you are all here.
It's all right there.
This iPhone, this Samsung, right?
Totally. Dude, yes.
If you don't have a strategy with benefits that puts something in here where their attention is,
Correct.
you are missing a point.
Yeah.
And it used to blow me away when I'd have an employer say, well, we can't do that because not all our employees have smartphones. And I'm like, what you're saying to me is out of the 270 employees you have, 2 don't have a smartphone. So therefore, you're not going to implement a very good idea.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But everybody, content.
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about this. You can make fun of Gen Z, millennials, young people on being on their phone all the time. They have hacked us biologically. It doesn't matter if you're 95 or if you're 15. There's something about scrolling and watching content. And when 80% of the things we consume are video, actually, you know what? Advisors, brokers, don't do what Andy and I are doing so that we can just clean house. Like, it is interesting at best that people wouldn't do it the way the whole world is doing it.
Yes.
The whole world is doing it.
When you look at we talk about this all the time as a team. Why don't we just go work with other industries? Because we are very niche insurance. You guys are doing this for the insurance industry. Yep. One of our niches is we all come from the industry, which is a nice little nuance.
Yep.
We could go work with other industries. Quite frankly, other industries get this a lot more.
They get it, yes.
But that's your point. Is it is a shift we are making or trying to make in the industry. Mm-hmm. You know what? One thing, by the way, I learned about social media. You were talking about the scroll.
Yeah.
You know the whole refresh thing.
Yeah.
When you pull in. Do you know where that comes from?
No.
Slot machines.
Stop.
It is. The whole concept of social media refreshing your screen for the next post, that was built off of the slot of.
No way.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe it.
Because they realize that's addictive.
Yep.
So if we create the refresh, we'll addict people. And look at, lo and behold, it worked.
It works. It totally works, man. Yeah. So like, sorry, I didn't mean to get off track.
Oh, this podcast is about getting off track.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, going back to the point of, let's just think, okay, if an alien came down, right? Now we're really getting into some weird shit. But if an alien came down and it was like, okay, tell me how the world works. And you're like, oh, it's, 2025. And it's like, oh, surely insurance does that, right? And it's like, oh no, actually, we still enroll people with paper and we still hammer the phone. And it's just like this, we have not caught up in like almost any capacity to the point where
that same alien would be, oh, when we came down in Roswell, they were still marketing that same way in the insurance industry.
Oh, nothing has changed.
Oh, they still use billboards. Got it.
Yeah, dude. So just the fact that it's almost comical, that
it is.
But it's not been caught up.
But I think at the same time, all humor aside, it is what gets us up every day to fight this because it can have it. There are your days where you're just pounding your head against the wall, like, why can't people get this? But I think it is a good problem to solve because I think people will get it. It's coming. They're not going to have a choice.
No.
And I think companies like ours and yours are just ahead of the ball game right now, but they need us, and I don't say that arrogantly. They need us because the world is changing, and how you grab prospects' attention, solutions you provide your clients is changing, and if you do not adapt, you will be left behind. We are in the attention economy. Yes,
and this is something that is fun to talk about because I don't want to be, like you said, so far advanced that we lose the people that we're trying to win. Like. Having the industry understand even what the attention economy is and that it is just putting like the power of the personal brand. I was a musician in a past life. And back then, 15 years ago, it was kind of like, hey, if you have good stuff, if you have, a kind of a following, it's like, okay, cool. Like we'll take a flyer on
you
it.
You had your groupies?
You had the groupies. Yeah. Today, any A&R, any recording, all they want to know is, do you have a following? Could you sell out a show in your own backyard? And could we market you because you've already done the hard work? Like you have a couple 100,000, whatever. Like, oh, you've built the infrastructure yourself. You're not depending on us spending millions of dollars on photo shoots and press and whatever. Like we can just kind of give you a chunk of money, have you be on your merry way and whatever. So point is, that's the way it works too.
Case in point, I coach a client who is building a great following in the industry. He sells to employers, but he is building a following amongst peers.
Okay.
And he works with an industry solution. And part of our strategy session a few weeks ago was the idea of him going back to this solution because they know he has influence over a lot of peers and creating an affiliate deal.
Okay.
That, hey, because of my brand awareness, I will bring other brokers to you. You pay me to do that. Would we have been able to do that 5 to 10 years ago? Heck no.
No.
But that's how the world works now.
Yeah. One of my favorite examples is Spencer Smith podcast. Mm-hmm. Shout out Spencer. And I don't want to screw up the story, but I think like high level, I'll get it. I think he started as a consultant and didn't like it and got out of it, but then was like, hey, I'm going to just start this podcast, just himself. And I think 18 months or 2 years later or whatever, Pareto, shout out Pareto for sure for even seeing this, but they were like, hey, brother, why don't you just keep doing what you're doing? We'll just brand it to Pareto.
There it is.
This is not going to be like.
And at the time, I think they made him the director of education. I forget what the title. Yeah.
Something. But how genius to be like, holy shit, this guy is already doing something. Let's just give him a bag, put our brand on it. And like, dude.
Big shout out to Spencer. That I still remember. Spencer, correct me if I'm wrong. That podcast idea came out of a strategy session he and I had.
Hell yeah.
I was sitting on my deck. Yeah. I was sitting on my deck in Colorado. He said, I got this idea. What do you think? I said, sounds good. Because he had already built a little following with the self-funding. He was doing the whiteboard videos.
Yep.
And look where he is now, man. I mean, everything he's done with getting hired by Pareto, now elevating, is all because of his brand.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, Pareto's not stupid. Like, the ROI on having Spencer be the guy has got to be astronomical, both from a culture and a financial standpoint. Like, it's just good business.
Here's the point, Luke. If you are able to build a brand, you can't fail anymore. You literally can't fail, because here's why. Somebody's always going to want your brand. Mm-hmm. Even if you decide, I'm going to go start my own business. This is what I said to myself. I'm going to start my own business. If I absolutely suck at it and it doesn't work, somebody's going to want me on their team because of my brand. Yeah. I can't fail.
I built it. Mm-hmm. And like, think of the hard work that you have done to permeate an industry. Yep. And like you said, if everything went belly up tomorrow, I'm fine. Yeah. It's fine. We will always have a place because we have done the hard work. It's so hard to capture attention. And how long have you been doing Complete Game Consulting?
Fully 2021. It was a side hustle for a couple of years, but yeah, I went all in 2021.
Yeah. And the number of iterations, I'm sure, but then like, you're like, oh, this didn't work. Let's do this. This didn't work. Oh, this did. It's just.
We break stuff every day.
We break stuff every single day, but you have to do that to get to the point. And I think that's what people maybe forget is, they see a Complete Game, they see an Informed and they're like, oh, it's a logo and they shoot
But
videos.
It goes back to why when your solution makes so much sense, why don't still more people do it? Mm-hmm. They just have this fear that I have to make it work. We have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And then for whatever reason, whether it's putting their brand out, it's number one reason somebody won't put themselves out there. But what if I fail? They're too afraid.
Sure.
And I think it's the same thing when you have certain industry partners. Mm-hmm. I'm too afraid to try because what happens if it doesn't work?
Ooh.
Versus like, what happens if it does?
Sure.
When I used to advise my clients, I told them, my job is to always be peeking around the corner for you. I'm going to suggest strategies that I think work today, but guess what? There's going to be newer strategies that come along that will be better. Mm-hmm. We may try something and it may not work. But my job is to continuously try new things for you to see what works. I would tell them that flat out, and that's your job. I believe that's your job as an advisor.
Yep. And do you think it's the fear of failure or the fear of hard work of like having to go through all of the different, you're going to post one thing and it's going to suck. Works. Yep. And then blah, blah, blah. Like combination of both?
Combination of both. And I'll keep going back to the guys, the men and women that are killing it. They are the ones who don't do it just for revenue.
Yeah.
And they're doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Cool.
And so they're willing to, even in some circumstances, forego revenue to implement something because they know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
They think with their employees' wallet, not their own. Or their employer, their client's wallet, not their own. Yeah, that's what the best are doing right now. They understand that. I understand implementing Informed may not make me revenue right now, but dang, this is good for my client because I have some solutions in there.
Yeah.
I need more engaged employees to make this whole program work. Yeah. Probably would be smart to have Steve and Luke working with the employees so they understand what they have.
Yeah. And the other fun thing too, like you're kind of touching on this humility piece. The people that go in, one of my favorite books is The Go-Giver.
Yeah.
I love that book. And it's like, give more in value than you take in compensation. And the people that are going out there, like that's kind of our thing. We're like, hey, let's give this shit away for free.
Yeah.
If you go in, you're going to look like such a dickhead. If you use Inform to win a group, win the group, and then don't hire Inform.
But how often do you see that?
Very
how often do you see promises made in the proposal?
This is true.
Win the proposal and promises never get fulfilled.
This is true. This is true. Yeah. Luckily, we haven't seen it very much. And I think that's probably because we have good like, you don't want to screw over your buddy.
Yeah.
You know? And when we're calling all these producers and talking to them, it's like, when I cold call as a broker, I don't get mad, you know? When I cold call with Inform to top, people are like, oh, what's up, bro? Like, I'm at my kid's birthday party. And like, that's fun to build traction. And it all goes back to the people like Andy. So they're going to pick up Andy's call. They like Luke. We're going to pick up Luke's call.
Well, and I use a tagline, you know, we're trying to make insurance cool again. I don't know if it actually ever was cool, but we're trying to make it cool again. I think that's what you guys are doing. I mean, you guys are both young guys having fun. Yeah. It is different, you know, and this is the thing I think our industry hasn't really gotten is like the game has changed. A guy with a shaved head and a beard and sleeves on his arms 10 years ago may not have stood a chance selling insurance, right?
Yeah.
But nobody cares anymore.
They don't.
And they want something fresh, especially in a very male, pale, stale industry.
Male, pale, stale.
And it's we got to come up with something new. We got to change this up. And the good news is there's plenty of people out there trying to do it that makes this gig fun.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we got to if you're going to have success moving forward, you can't keep doing it the way it was.
No. One of the things that's really fun for both of us is I get, you know, the same way you do, DMs, hey, I got this thing, blah, blah, blah. The number of people that will text me and be like, hey, I decided to wear a hoodie and Jordans to my prospect meeting because that's me. And it went really well. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Awesome. Because
you got to know your audience.
You know? But you can't fake knowing this industry.
Nope.
You really can't fake it. You either have your chops or you don't.
Yep.
And when Luke shows up as Luke, however it is, we're still going to talk about fixing XYZ because we have the skill set and the knowledge set there. If I just looked like a jackass and didn't know it, it wouldn't fly. Yep. But fresh perspective and cognitive breaks. I'm a huge fan of that. When I even cold call, I'm like, hey, Andy, it's Luke. Can you hear me? Yeah, I hear you fine. Great. It's like, how are you today, bro? So seeing something different is a cognitive break.
Here's where content is changing the game. I had a buddy of mine, Jake Rushton, on a webinar a couple years ago, and he was teaching video, how to do video and stuff like that. And I had a mix of veterans and new producers on the webinar, and he said something. I was like, thank you for saying that. He said, guys, here's where the game's changing. All you veterans right now, in the next 10 years, you're going to have a bunch of young people come in the industry because they're going to see the revenue opportunity. But they're going to be able to do something you refuse to do, create content. Ooh. And they're going to start taking your business.
Yeah.
And you're going to get pissed and you're going to wonder how the heck they're doing it because they're not as smart as you. But nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Because all they see is them, not you. That's where content's changing the game. It can take a new producer, make them successful a lot faster because people see you. And if I see you and you educate me, guess what? You become my go-to expert.
Yes.
Whether you're 23 or 63.
And what's funny is people haven't put this together. Cold call, cold email, whatever cold outreach. What's the statistic? Takes between 8 to 20 times.
Well, I heard the one I use a lot that I've heard from Anthony Iannarino, I think it is. It's 18 calls to get somebody to pick up today.
Damn. Okay. So let's just say it takes 20 reach outs to have whatever. All you're doing with that old way is you're trying to engage and interface with the person so that they can become familiar with you. Okay. 1 in 18 dials to the same person, dude. That's weeks of work. So over a year, you have connected with the person a handful of times. LinkedIn, you could do that literally in 1 week with one piece of content.
Well, you know what we teach with LinkedIn is what I call the modern day cold call. If you do your job on LinkedIn and you're creating content, but you're also making connections, and then you go back to those said connections a month later. After they've seen your content, hopefully, go send them a DM. By the way, go do it with an audio or video. That's a cold call. But you know what? You know what? Two things that make that cold call different. There's no gatekeeper.
Ooh.
And even if they don't know who you are, they can click on your profile and look at you immediately. You can't do that on the phone, and you're trying to break through the gatekeeper who says, "May I ask who's calling?"
Yeah.
That's where LinkedIn is a modern day cold call now.
It is. It actually is. So is it just such a new platform, or like new to the industry, that it just is a matter of time? Like, this thing's going to snowball. Why are people not
I have
doing
no
this?
idea, Luke. I wish if I could solve this, I'd have a multi-million-dollar business by now. It goes back to the work, man. I hate to say it. Just people don't want to put in the work.
Sucks.
We talked about it having coffee. It's, I know my pipeline sucks and I haven't sold anything for a year, but I got a 2-year runway. My employer's paying me $125,000 salary. I'm good.
Yeah.
I actually really don't like what I sell. There's just not the desire, man. That's why most of our best clients are former college pro athletes. Drive. They want to win. They literally want to beat the hell out of you.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Well, it's funny. We talk to a lot of young producers as well, because again, Informed is and should be a prospecting tool to go win business.
Yep.
The number of people that we talk to, young people, they've been in the industry for a couple years. They're in their mid-20s or whatever. And I'm like, oh, you're grinding, building your book. Yeah, I started out in small group and now I'm kind of doing it. And I'm like, oh, dude, cool. They don't want to do this.
Yeah.
They don't want to do the work. They don't want to whatever. I'm like, dude, I have a literally guaranteed way for you to go win deals. Or at least have, oh, by the way, I'm giving you a tool to go talk to people about.
Yeah.
I'm giving you something.
Yeah.
But they won't take it and then run.
Yeah.
Well,
let's bring this thing on home, man. You did pique my interest. Former musician.
You
had a band?
No.
Dang it.
Keyboard, sing. I did like piano, pop, rock. You want to talk to a real musician? This dude toured. How long did you tour for? A decade?
8 years, yeah.
As like in a band?
Yeah, drummer.
Damn.
Yeah. You too?
No.
No?
I was a fat trumpet player when I was a kid. About the least cool part of a band. I was a fat trumpet player when I was 10, 11 years. You know why I joined band?
Tell me.
Because in grade school, you got out of one class.
That's a great motivation.
And then I played until I think it was in 8th grade.
Holy shit.
And then I'm like, yeah, not cool. I don't want to do this.
Okay. And then we'll keep dragging this on.
So keyboard.
Keyboard.
Okay.
Sang, put out a studio album.
Really? Like what year are we talking?
This was 13 or 14.
So fairly recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not too long ago. But it was just like, I can record all this stuff. I can write. Here's my plan. I was like, I have 100 songs written.
Okay.
20% of them, or 20 of them will be good.
Yeah, 80-20 rule.
10 of them are going to be great. There's going to be a fucking smash in there, dude. Like, for sure. And so I wrote all the songs, whatever, was going to go to Nashville, Met my wife, fell in love.
So Nashville, were you like country?
No, it's just like, imagine like Gavin DeGraw.
Okay, yeah.
I love pianists.
Okay.
Pianists.
Yeah, let's really say that slow.
But like actual musicians really doing this. And there's something beautiful about a piano. So I still play.
That's cool, man.
But I realize I don't love it the way you gotta love it. I mean, people that'll eat ramen for the rest of their lives working at a record store.
Yeah.
I was like too business minded about it. I was too strategic, and so.
Hey, I always, the dueling pianos at a bar. Those are always the cool guys, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, this has been super fun.
This is awesome, man.
Thank you for this. And I said it before, but finding people that actually think the same way, and not that other people are bad, but this is a new wave that is changing the industry,
100%.
and we're still figuring it out. But the fact that we are literally years ahead of it, and some of the only sources of truth when it comes to content, engagement, whatever, in the space, blue skies, baby. It's fun.
How can we get a lot of benefit advisors listening to our podcast? How can they get in touch with you if they're interested to learn more about the whole platform you guys have?
Yeah. Honestly, DM me.
Okay.
Just shoot me a DM on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Be like, hey, saw you on the podcast. Would love to talk, because call me, whatever. All my shit is everywhere. Like you can call me, email, whatever, but I respond to all my DMs. So shoot me a DM, say, I'm interested. We'll set up a time to talk.
Awesome.
So
Luke Aslesen.
You got it.
I almost said it again.
Got it.
Aslesen, everybody. Luke, thanks for joining me, man. This
Hell
was
yeah,
great.
brother. This is great. Oh, screwed up
So
that.
everybody else, be good.
Yeah.
That's all we got for this episode of the Accelerate Your Insurance Sales Podcast. One of the most valuable things you can do to help us and other new potential listeners find our show is for you to rate the show and leave a review. So as a special bonus for you, if you leave us a review, take a screenshot of your review and send it to me as a DM to my LinkedIn profile. I will send you a free copy of our LinkedIn Diamond Playbook, our proven 4-step strategy to grow your business on LinkedIn. So go right now, leave us a review, screenshot it, and send me a DM on LinkedIn. Also, please share this podcast with anyone you think would enjoy it. That's it for now.